Welcome to Bass Day Fishing. Today we're not going out to the lake. What we're going to do instead is pour some baits. And what I want to do today is show you guys how to make a Ned worm. In fact, I got one here that I poured yesterday. I call this thing the Nedster. You can see it's two-tone. I got the white belly. This one I got the green pumpkin back. A little bit later we're going to pour some Ned worms. I'll do the two-tone. I'm going to pour a craw with a white belly, so that'll be later on in the video. But first I want to show you how to take care of the lead. How do you put together the jig head for this thing? So we're going to start there. Okay, for the lead portion of this job, you're going to need a few things. First, you're going to need to get a lee pot. What this does is that melts down the lead into a liquid form so you can pour it into the mold. Now, I get my lead from eBay. I buy it from shooting ranges, and what they do is they gather up bullets, melt them down, and they put them into these little bricks, just like this guy here. You put that in the pot, it melts down, and then it's ready to pour into the mold itself. All right, you always want to wear protective gear. Usually I'm going to be wearing a mask to protect myself from the fumes. Today I'm not going to do that just because I'm going to be talking to the camera as I go. You take your mold, you open it up. We're going to be pouring the 1/8 size today. So you're going to take your hook, just pop it right into the mold. Then you're going to take your wire, your bait keeper, pop that into the mold as well. So you got your hook in there, you've got your bait keeper in there, you just close that up, it's ready to go. I'm only going to be pouring one jig at a time. It's going to take a long time, but I just want to do 1/8. It's the only size I'm pouring right now. So you got to remember which hole it was. That's the third hole right there. Okay, at this point you just take the spoon, you stick it into the lead itself. You're going to grab some of that and pour it right down in the hole. Alright, you can see it's already set up. Let's go ahead and open it up. And you pop out your Ned Rig jig head. Now I hold it with the pliers. I'm going to take the hook and bend it back and forth a little bit till it pops loose. Put the extra lead right back into the pot. You're going to use that later. And there you go. That is a 1/8 ounce Ned Rig jig head. Next step we're going to do is go ahead and powder paint these guys. So we're going to make up a whole bunch of these jig heads. Then we're going to go to the powder paint, show you how that works. We're cooking them. You put these into a toaster oven. And what that does is just going to harden the paint on top of the lead head here. And that way it won't chip off when you're fishing it. So that's next up. Now comes the fun part. You're going to get to use the propane torch. So get that going, turn the gas on, light it up, get the flame blowing there. I got a bunch of jig heads ready to go. So you grab one of those. Now the key is you don't want to melt this stuff, you just want to heat it up. So you get over there on the propane torch, heat it up a little bit. You take your powder paint, you stick the lead head in there, knock off the extra paint, and you've got a painted jig head. Now the key here is, turn the propane torch off for a second, you got to clean out the eye of that hook because you're going to want to be able to run a line through there later. Once you cook this stuff, it gets hard. The reason you're cooking it is so that it won't chip off on rocks when you're using it. But once you do that, it's almost impossible to get the paint out of the eye there. So you take an extra hook, I got an extra hook just sitting around, and you're going to want to get in there and clean out the eye really good. So you're going to make sure that there's no paint in there. Alright, once you got these things painted and you've cleared out the eyes so that you know that they're not going to be clogged up, it's time to go ahead and put them into the toaster oven. Now I cook these at 350 degrees for about 25 minutes, and what that does is it takes your paint and it's going to make it really hard so it won't chip off when it hits the rocks. So the next step for these guys, into the oven. Alright, the jigs are in the oven. It's going to take about a half hour for that paint to harden up. We're going to let them go ahead and cook up, and we'll be right back. We've finished the lead portion of this project. It's now time to get to the plastic. What we're going to create today is a little 2 3/4 inch Ned worm. This is one I poured the other day. You can see it's a two-tone. You got the green pumpkin on the back. You've got the white belly, and we're going to do that today as well. I'm going to make a two-tone Ned worm. I've changed my mind. I want to make a crawfish with a red belly. So it's going to be craw on one side, red on the other. I think it's going to come out looking pretty cool. You're going to need a few things before you get started with the plastic work. The first thing, of course, is the mold. This is my Ned Rig mold right here. You're going to need some liquid plastic. It's called Plastisol. It comes in a giant thing like this. What you do is you heat that up, you add the color, you add the flake, mix it all together, and inject it into the mold. You're going to need the colorant. So depending on what color you're going for, you need some of this stuff. When you create a recipe, you probably should write it down because you want to be able to repeat that down the road. So my craw color, I've made it a million times. I know what to do with that. The red, I'm going to experiment with today, but as I go, I'll keep track of what I'm using so that I can repeat it for another day. And then of course you need the flake at the end. The flake just gives it a little extra coolness to the look. So got all those things ready to go, and it's time to go make some Ned rigs. We're going to start the plastics portion of this with the hand pour. The hand pour is the more difficult of the two. Injecting is not real difficult. Hand pour just takes a little more practice to get good at. But what you want to do is make sure your measurements are precise. I sell these baits, so I want to make sure I can reproduce the same bait over and over and over again. So what I do is each time I create a new color, I write it into my little color, I don't know, I guess I can call this my color menu, so that I can recreate the exact color over and over again for future baits. The red I'm going to create today, I've never poured it. It's something I'm just going to experiment with a little bit to see, I don't know, just kind of test it out and see what I like. The craw color, on the other hand, I've poured hundreds of times. So that's something I've written down. I pretty much have it memorized so I can do it by memory. But as you make your baits, make sure you're keeping track of what you're doing. How much plastisol you use, how much colorant you add, how much flake you add. So what I'm going to do first is show you how we start out. I always pour a half a cup. That's what I'm starting with. So you get one of these little Pyrex cups, and you're going to take your plastisol. In fact, let me move the camera down for you. You're going to take the plastisol, you got to shake the stuff up good. What happens is the hardener sinks down to the bottom. This right here is a medium recipe. You can get soft plastic, medium plastic, hard plastic, it's up to you. This right here is a medium plastic. But what happens is the hardener sinks down to the bottom and it just sits there. So you got to shake it up real good. And I'm going to go ahead and forward fast pass this because you don't need to watch me shaking it. I shake this for a good 30-40 seconds vigorously because I'm trying to get that hardener mixed in throughout the plastisol. All right, once you got it shaken up, you're going to take this. And then you're going to measure it out in your Pyrex glass here. And what I'm going to do is I'm making sure I have exactly 1/2 a cup. And the reason it's so important to be precise is because my recipe will tell me how many drops of colorant and how much flake I want to add for 1/2 cup. So I've got this thing measured out now at 1/2 cup. It's ready to go. And we're going to experiment, like I said. So I'm going to experiment with some red. You can follow along with me, see how I do it. And then eventually we'll get to the craw color. Here we go. I just realized there's a bunch of gear I forgot to tell you about. You need the protective gear. You're going to want a mask. The mask is going to keep you from breathing in all those fumes. You don't want to be breathing this stuff. It's pretty nasty. So get yourself a good mask. You definitely want to have gloves. If this stuff touches your skin, it is going to burn. It's going to leave scars. It is lava hot once it comes out of that microwave. So you have to be real careful. You don't want that stuff splashing by any means. You don't want it touching your skin. This stuff is hotter than anything you've ever felt before. Trust me, I've had it splatter on my hand once before. Just a little drop, but I still have a scar from it. So just be super careful when you're pouring this stuff. It is lava hot. All right, we're ready to start messing around with our colors. This is the red belly. This is gonna be my hand pour. So I've got 3 colors I'm gonna try to start out with. Red, we got some fluorescent red, and actually a little bit of orange. I'm going to start mixing that until it looks like it's the color I want it to be. The color that it is before you cook it is nothing like what it looks like when it's finished. But you've done it long enough, you can kind of experiment. Again, shake these up as well. Want to make sure they're nice and mixed up. First I'm going to add some fluorescent red. Try 5 drops of that. Going to go ahead and give it some of the red. Go with 5 drops of that. And you'll notice you don't have to add a ton of color. Just a little color goes a long way on these things. And then we're going to add, I'll try 3 drops of orange here. Okay, we're going to mix that all up. Give me an idea of what it looks like. Let's see if I want to add anything else to this. Wow, that is some serious red. Throw it in the microwave. Don't want to cook this stuff for too long. I'm going to cook this for 2 minutes to get it started, and then you check on it every 30 seconds or so after that. It's easy to burn the plastisol. If you burn the plastisol, it's ruined. You got to start over with a brand new batch. Let's go ahead and cook this up. Okay, pop it out of the microwave. Wow, is that red. That's actually a lot more red than I want this particular bait to be. Although I do like that color for some other things I want to do later. Now, if I want to tone that down a little bit, I'm going to take this black. Black goes a long way, so it's just 1 drop of this black. That's it. Mix that in, and I'm hoping that'll just kind of dull it down just a little bit.
You'll notice I'm not wearing my mask. The fan isn't blowing in the background, and I gotta tell you, the smell is nasty. I would never pour this stuff without the mask and the fan, except for the fact that I'm making a video right now, and I want to be able to talk while I'm pouring this stuff. All right, it's a little better for what I want. Just a little bit of black. You can already see that it's changing the color in here. I'm gonna heat that down. I want to get it so it's liquidy. This is gonna be the stuff that I pour into my mold in just a minute. Okay, I'm ready to add the flake. I'm only putting in black flake for this. You can put any color you want, but I'm putting black, so 0.035 is the size. And then I take my measuring spoons, which I've got all marked up. I put the little masking tape on there for the exact size I got. For this particular one, I'm gonna go with 1/12 of a spoon here. Get the flake on there, pour it right in, mix that in, and this stuff is ready to go. Okay, we are ready to start the hand pour. This plastisol is perfect, ready to go. Open up my Ned Rig mold. What I'm going to do is now pour half the bait. And to do this, I use one of these little pouring pots. It makes it a lot easier. Put the plastisol in there. And now I'm just going to fill these cavities, each one, about half full. Perfect. You don't get a lot of time because this stuff hardens up pretty quick. Good. If I can get 7 or 8 of these, I'll be in great shape. A little bit over pulled there, that's not bad. Liking the way this looks. I think this color is going to be great with the craw color that I have to pour in here. Hand pouring, it takes a while to get good at it, but after you get it, at first you're going to have a ton of over pour, get it all over the sides. I've done it so much that I don't really get a whole lot over the edge of the cavity itself. That's a lot of baits. Very pleased with the way this stuff came out. Okay. This stuff here's had plenty of time to cool in the pot. Just reach in there, pop it all out. It just plops out in one big chunk. Get all my extra over pour in there. Get the stuff off my spoon. Then you've got a bunch of plastic that kind of sits on the sides. You just peel it up, drop it right back in. I want everything down there at the bottom. Looks like I got one more pour out of this. What you do for your last hand pour is you pour half your mold and just leave it in there so it's ready to go. This side, of course, is going to be the injection side. So you leave that in, close it up. We're going to clamp that down. I've already mixed up my craw color. I'm going to heat that up in the microwave, and then we're going to inject that in, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's finished. Okay, I overkill it with the clamps. I want to make sure that this thing is clamped tight. So first thing I do is I take these little squeeze clamps, put them on the sides. Clamp that down nice and tight. Then I take these clamps and I put them on the top. I'm sure you don't need to clamp it this much, but I like to make sure that nothing's leaking out of this. I know, ridiculous, right? All right, the craw color's ready. So you just take your injector, you go right in there, suck it up into the injector, stick it right down into your mold. You squeeze it until you feel pressure and then you stop. I always top it off because it's going to suck some more plastic down in there. And you want to make sure that there's no air bubbles. So I always just put a little extra in the top, and as I'm waiting for it to kind of go down, I'll add a little more. That should be good right there. All right, that's it. It's been maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. You pop these off. And I'm hoping that when I open this up, we're going to have some pretty good looking baits. Let's see what we got. There you can see the red belly. These are going to look nice. Pull them out. Now you're going to pull them off one at a time. Oh, that is a good looking bait. I got the red belly, the craw back. I really do like that. So it's a two-tone bait. I throw them into the water, let them cool down in there. Hey, that's it. We've got the plastic. We got this cool looking two-tone Ned Rig, little Nedster. We've already done the lead last week. In fact, I got some with the brown tops on them. This is gonna be perfect. Stick these together for you. I'm gonna show you what the final product looks like with the plastic and the lead that we just created right here in this video. Take these out to the lake later and fish them. But for now, let me go ahead and put this together and show you what it looks like. Here's the final product. You got the lead head. You've got the two-tone Nedster, the Ned Rig I just poured. This whole thing is only 2 3/4 of an inch. It'll sink down to the bottom. You got the Ned worm that's just dancing there on top. The bass can't resist this thing. So we're ready to go. I'm gonna take this out to the lake. Hopefully I'll have a video for you in the near future where I show you catching some fish with this bait right here. Hey, thanks for coming along. I'll see you next time on Bass Stag Fishing.
What the heck are these Ned rigs supposed to be anyways? Crawfish or bait fish? Either way, I think I got it covered with these colors right here. Cross stick on the left, bait fish on the right.